Now on KX News in HD, the Mouse River is up 6 feet since yesterday in Logan. One family is prepared to move for higher ground. Plus, a boil order is in place and more than 1,200 rural water customers are without water. And the spring melt was not reserved for rural areas. Flooded roadways hindered the morning commute.
Live in high definition, this is KX News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. The worst flooding of 2013 hit overnight and continued today in north central North Dakota. It's not just rivers spilling over their banks, but snowbanks turning into rushing water, draining off hills across the region, causing the problems. Jim Olson is with us live tonight with a look at another high water day in the region.
Thanks, Jennifer. The levels of creeks and coulees rose quickly overnight, closing roads and highways and giving many property owners some headaches. We have lots of stops to make with you tonight. We'll begin early in the day today on Sunday morning when the severity of the flooding was just coming into focus.
Well, 19 and a half hours of chasing water.
Terry Quinlan works for the Ward County Highway Department. He spent hours erecting and removing these signs as water problems developed and then eased through the northwest and central portions of the county.
We've got some closed roads down south of Sawyer. We've got 2 roads down there. The roads have been washed out. Most of it's been overland flooding like you see here, where you have to close the roads for a while and the water goes down, then you open them back up again.
The problem started developing late Saturday and multiplied overnight into Sunday. And the high water is not all related to rivers. It's also in the normally tiny streams and coulees that are ushering to lower ground the water that's left behind from the melting of a heavy snowpack. The hills and fields of a large area southwest of Minot drain right through here, County Road 14 west of the YMCA. After rushing over and under the road, the water heads for the Green Acres subdivision, where it threatens basements as it heads for a trip under Dakota Square. Problem is, the culverts couldn't handle the flow and the water inundated 16th Street west of Dakota Square, trapping 1 car in the process.
Well, I'm going to go out and see if I can get it in neutral and then find some place to hook some chains and just drag it out of there.
Let her rip, huh?
Yeah.
Early Sunday morning, Kerry Green of Olson's Towing was carrying out a plan to wade into the hip-deep water, hook up a chain to the car's frame, and slowly tug the waterlogged Acura out of the pond and onto dry land. Meanwhile, the morning brought a continued rise of the Des Lacs River, a river that starts here at the Des Lacs National Wildlife Refuge near Kenmare. This is what it looked like on Sunday morning, a far cry from the scene we saw a week earlier when the stream was still a block of ice. But the ice is gone and the hills are dumping their water into the stream that rushes through Carpio and here through Foxholm, where the river's banks still had a few feet of space Sunday morning. Meanwhile, water continues to feed into the Des Lacs as it heads for Burlington, and the first place it hits is the projects area west of Burlington. This bridge was washed out by high water 2 years ago. As of Sunday morning, it was standing up to the onslaught. Other parts of the projects were also just barely above the water as residents hoped the dramatic rise of the river would end quickly. And in the town of Burlington, the Des Lacs was behaving, staying well within the levee system for now. Sunday morning ended with streams and rivers still on the rise and local residents holding their breaths in hopes the water would recede quickly after the very fast rise.
Now, as this Sunday wore on, the problems continued to mount as high temperatures caused what was left of the snow in the hills to continue the rapid melt. Foxholm was the bullseye for river flooding throughout the day. The Des Lacs River shot past the earlier crest projection of 17 feet by mid-morning. And by late afternoon, the river was up to 19.32 feet, the 5th highest level ever recorded at Foxholm, and within about 1 foot of the 2011 crest. The quick rise forced some quick action by people living along the banks of the normally tiny river. They brought in sand and did some high-speed dike making.
Well, we weren't scared last night. We looked at it before we went to bed, and we woke up this morning and it was a little bit higher. Then we went to church and came home, and then I got scared.
Well, we're just trying to shore it up along the road here for these guys. They're a little concerned the water level is going to come up across the road. So we're just putting up a little berm along here, trying to keep it from coming up into the houses and into the area there across the road.
Meanwhile, scientists from the U.S. Geological Survey were busy checking the exact flow and height of the Des Lacs River at Foxholm. They do that by sending a motorized sensor across the river. Hydrologist Brent Hansen says it's important to get actual measurements of the river flow to confirm what the automated equipment is reporting.
Actually, measure the discharge is pretty important because
It validates what the models are showing.
The measurements taken by the USGS showed a flow rate of right around 2,400 cubic feet per second at Foxhome, and since that time the river has dropped slightly. The National Weather Service estimates the river has crested at Foxhome. We'll see all of the latest crest predictions in just a moment. First, though, we go to Jennifer, who visited a couple of places where high water was moving in this evening.
Thanks, Jim. The first stop I made was at Apple Grove. That's where residents were devastated by flooding in 2011, a full month before the high water hit the city of Minot. This time, as it was the case 2 years ago, the high water is a result of a very deep snowpack in the hills southwest of Minot, all that drain into this area. Scott Herslip says the next 24 hours are crucial for Apple Grove. This valley next to Herslip's shed is nearly dry year-round. He says the water rose 18 inches between the hours of 3 and 5 on Sunday afternoon. Neighbors have pooled personal funds to build up the road where the water was entering into a field that feeds the coulee surrounding Apple Grove. Herslip says now that they've closed off that water source, the 23 homeowners in Apple Grove are trying to watch with confidence.
Everyone here has been very cooperative. We've been through this barbecue before, and we know which signs to look for. Unfortunately, we are kind of experienced at this.
As of 5 o'clock this evening, no homes or basements have taken on water in Apple Grove. And over the past 48 hours, we've shown you some of the overland flooding happening in Logan. Tonight, the Mouse River is up 6 feet since Saturday. Here at the Logan Bridge, water is spreading out over farmland and lapping at the base of the bridge. Bert Wagner moved into the area just over a year ago when his company was assisting with repairs on the Logan Bridge after the 2011 flood. His family has decided to make this spot their home, and they plan to finalize that purchase within the next month. Wagner says the family went to bed on Saturday feeling pretty comfortable, but the view from the porch on Sunday morning was quite different. They've spent the day packing what they can and hoping for the best.
It's amazing. It's been an eye-opener for us how much it can come up in a day's time. And basically we'll just stay on high ground until the last minute. If we have to go, we got to go.
The Mouse River at Logan is expected to crest overnight tonight. Here's Jim again with a look at all of the crest projections.
Yeah, Jennifer, we start out in Sherwood, which is right where the Mouse River enters the U.S. from Canada. People there have already seen flooding this spring, and now the National Weather Service is projecting the river will be rising to over 22 feet by the end of the coming week. That would be almost a foot higher than the earlier crest in April. Next, we jump to the Des Lacs River in Foxhome, where the crest is predicted to have already hit, and a slow fall is expected to begin and continue overnight tonight. Back on the Mouse River at the Boy Scout Bridge west of Minot, the crest is predicted now at 16.5 feet early on Tuesday. In the city of Minot, the Mouse is predicted to reach 1,546.5 feet by early Tuesday. That's about 2.5 feet below flood stage, well below rather, the tops of the levees. By the way, where the river sits now in Minot is the highest it's been this spring. In Logan, the crest is expected right about now at around 36 feet, just barely into the moderate flood stage, the 9th highest crest on record, and pretty close to the 2009 peak. At Sawyer, the Weather Service is predicting a crest in the moderate stage as well at 24.5 feet on Monday night. In Velva, the river is expected to rise another foot or so, cresting at 1507.5 on Monday. That's the 7th highest crest on record in Velva, but well within the protection of the levee system there. At Towner, major flooding is projected with a crest of 56.5 feet on Wednesday night. That would be the 3rd highest level ever recorded at Towner. In Bantry, a crest of 14.4 feet is predicted for Thursday, also the 3rd highest on record. Among other rivers and streams, the Wintering River near Carlsruhe is expected to reach minor flood stage, topping out at about 8 feet on Wednesday. And Willow Creek near Willow City should hit about 10.9 feet, minor flood stage, by Wednesday as well. Now, with the exception of Sherwood, all of those crests are due to local runoff from the heavy snow of this winter. In Sherwood, the new crest is due to expected releases from Canadian dams and local runoff from the river downstream of those dams. All in all, we can expect a week of heightened attention to all of the rivers throughout our region.
Now, your first look at KX weather.
If you made it outside today, really nice weather across the state of North Dakota, especially if you had maybe a windbreaker or a light jacket on, because it was a little bit windy out there, even with those nice temps and the sunshine. Currently in Minot, 39 degrees, does feel like about 35. with the north-northwest wind that has died down a bit to 6 miles per hour right now. In Williston, 47 degrees currently with just a light east-northeast wind at 6 miles per hour. Overnight, we should have temps getting a bit lower than they were last night. Many of us into the 30s, some 40s yet on the map, though. So kind of a chilly night out there. And as for tomorrow, well, we won't warm up to where we were it's on Saturday, that's for sure, but we should have temps mostly in the 60s and also a little bit of a chance of rain or even some thunderstorms. Now, unfortunately, I do have to use the S word, that snow word, might be coming back on Tuesday. I'll give you all the details in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Tim. A boil order was put into place around midnight last night for townships in eastern Ward County and western McHenry County. A line break at the Voltaire Water Treatment Plant left about 1,200 North Prairie Rural Water District customers without water since Saturday. General Manager Teresa Sunsbach says the break caused an overflow and groundwater mixed into the clean water storage facility. She says the affected area was isolated and the initial chlorine tests have come back clean. The boil order is protocol to ensure safety. She says the boil order will last a few days and there are about 215 customers under the order. Residents in the affected townships say that not having easy access to clean water makes a big difference in daily life.
We got a call at 2:30 in the morning saying that we should boil water if it ran. We can't clean or water the horses if they would to need it. We're probably going to go stay at a hotel room for the night.
North Prairie Water has a crew on site working on restoring water service. Sunsbach says the first customers should be restored after midnight, and by noon tomorrow, everything should be back in working order. One clarification from North Prairie, it is the township of Surrey that is under a boil order, not the city of Surrey. The Red River in Fargo will likely peak at the low end of the predicted crest range. The National Weather Service officials say the river is projected to crest at 37 feet, more than 3 feet lower than the record in 2009. As of Sunday afternoon, the river measured at 29 feet, 1 foot below major flood stage. Precautions are still being taken and some areas are feeling the effects. Coming up on KX News and HD, the Twins wrapped up their series against the Rangers today. Derek will have more in sports after the forecast.
Have we seen the end of snow this season? I sure hope so, but I'm not entirely convinced. I'll give you the details in a few minutes on KX News at 10.
Let's take a look at the almanac numbers for today. In mine at the high at 55 degrees, again below the average of 61. It was kind of an unusual day yesterday, I guess. In Williston, the high at 63 degrees, on par with the average of 62, and a low of 47 today. What can we expect, Tim?
Well, we can expect a day maybe a little bit warmer than we saw today coming up tomorrow. However, not terribly nice. Increasing clouds tonight, and I think we should have chillier temps than we saw last night for sure. Most of us into the 30s for low temps tonight, and a gusty northwest wind as well. Although when it's not gusting, it won't be too strong, actually. Kind of a strange wind situation tonight. So tomorrow, a chance of rain and maybe even a thunderstorm here and there. That could be kind of nice to see. Otherwise, mostly cloudy if you're not seeing rain, and highs in the 50s and the 60s for the most part. Now, Tuesday. I have the word snow there. It's just a possibility, but we can't rule it out because we're getting a pretty sharp drop in temperatures coming up on Tuesday. Most of us will have highs in the 40s. So that means that maybe overnight or in the early morning part of Tuesday, we might see some snow flurries. But for the most part, I'm thinking rain, maybe sleet as well on Tuesday. But much cooler temperatures, that's for sure, that we know on Tuesday. So we can tell you that for sure. Right now, we can tell you in Minot, the conditions are pretty nice. 39, a north-northwest wind at 6 miles per hour currently. And in Williston, 47 degrees. It does feel like 44 with just a light east-northeast wind at 6 miles per hour. Temps from around the rest of the region, you see 30s and 40s across the board in the state. 43 in Garrison, 46 in Dickinson, and not terribly windy right now. But again, there might be just some gusts here and there up to about 20 miles per hour overnight, but really not a whole lot of wind going on right now. The radar and satellite for the last 12 hours, not a whole lot of activity today. There was some light, some shower activity early in the morning, mostly in the southern portion of the state, but for the most part, just clear skies today. It was a pretty nice day, if you can forgive the wind a little bit. So let's talk about the precision cast overnight. Some clouds are going to start to roll into the area probably sometime tomorrow morning, and with those clouds could come a little bit of rain, mainly in the afternoon on Monday, I'm thinking. That's when the big system of rain, these scattered rain showers, will start to arrive tomorrow. They should move through very quickly, though. However, the system is going to kind of wrap around the state overnight on Tuesday, and you see some snow up there in Canada. It's possible that that snow could branch down into North Dakota. PrecisionCast doesn't think it's going to happen, which is good news. However, the Weather Service does say that maybe we might see some snow or rain or sleet or something on Tuesday as well. But for the most part, the best chance will be on Monday. So the forecast for tonight looks like this. We'll have temps in the 30s, kind of a chilly night out there with that south wind at about 14 miles per hour. Tomorrow, we'll have temps back into the 60s for most of us, nowhere near those 70s we saw on Saturday. And again, a chance of rain tomorrow. So your 7-day forecast looks like this. Not very nice, really, in my opinion, but we have a pretty good day for temps tomorrow, then a drop-off on Tuesday, but we'll slowly start to climb back up to that average mark, which is right around 60, a little bit more right now, for next weekend. So this is good for me because I have finals that I have to prepare for this week, so it'll just make me want to stay inside.
Force you inside. That's all right.
Exactly.
All right, thanks, Tim.
Sure.
Coming up on KX News in HD, in tonight's Eye on Health, first, we'll visit the New York Knicks. They're looking to get into the NBA playoffs. And an Eye on Health tonight, a few reminders before you soak up the summer sun.
The New York Knicks brought the brooms to Boston today, but couldn't quite clean up. In Game 4 against the Celtics, the Knicks were looking for the series sweep to move on to the second round of the NBA playoffs. Down 3-0 in the series, the Celts needed 5 periods to keep the season alive in this one, and we look in at the third. Raymond Felton had 16 points in this quarter, and here's 3 of them right there. A pull-up buzzer beater to cut Boston's lead to 368-65. In the fourth quarter now, Kevin Garnett, he's going to hit his own long tube pull-up jumper, and that ties the game up with just over a minute left in the fourth quarter, 84-84. That brings us within the final minute of the overtime. Jason Terry with his own jumper, 50 seconds left. Boston leads by 3, 93-90, and thanks to Terry's 9 points in overtime, the Celtics get their first win in the series, winning 97-90 at home. Teams that weren't as lucky to avoid being swept, the Bucks sent home after 4 games against the Heat. The Lakers swept by the Spurs today, 103-82, and in progress right now, Denver trails the Warriors 76-68 in the third, so we're down 2 teams at least in the NBA Finals.
All right, thanks, Derek. Coming up after the break, we'll have Eye on Health. Vitamin D is known as the sunshine vitamin. Many studies out today suggest that many of us do not get enough vitamin D. In this week's Eye on Health, Carla Burbage talks to a Minot doctor who recommends it to all of his patients.
Hi. Dr. Thomas Carver is a longtime doctor of pediatrics and neonatology. He's been doing a lot of research in recent months about vitamin D. He says numbers show that over 60% of adults and children are deficient in this vitamin. Vitamin D is essential for bone health, but studies show it is good for the prevention of many diseases.
Hopefully, time will tell us that by keeping vitamin D levels in the normal ranges, maybe we can prevent some of the diabetes, some of the Crohn's disease, some of the cancers.
He says there are not enough good sources of foods containing vitamin D. Some types of fish have it. There's also fortified milk. But he says even with that and by taking a multivitamin, patients he has tested are still not getting enough. You get vitamin D from the sunshine, but in our climate, that's limited.
We don't get enough sunlight year-round, and then those few months during the summertime when we do go outdoors, we wear sunscreen, and that takes away from our skin's ability to produce vitamin D.
He says you would have to take an unreasonably high amount of vitamin D for it to have a negative effect. So Dr. Carver has started recommending supplements to all his patients.
I'm putting all of my newborns on 800 international units a day, and the older children, since the chewable form comes in 400 and 1,000 international units. My older kids I'm putting on 1,000, and then once they get up to 9 years and above, I'm recommending the adult dose of 2,000 international units a day.
Open real big. Say, ah. Ah.
Thank you.
Dr. Carver says it's always best to talk to your doctor before you make any changes to your health plan, and he encourages people to get tested. It's a simple blood test, but it's not a routine test. You would need to ask for it.
You're right. Just remember the vitamin D that we talked about.
The benefits of vitamin D, something to consider. For Eye on Health, I'm Carla Burbidge.
Eye on Health is brought to you by Trinity Health. At Trinity, we're reinventing health.
Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful night.